meeting, Councillor Cowie's in the meeting, and Councillor Ferguson's in the meeting. Just check if we have Councillor Lambie. Don't have Councillor Lambie. We have Councillor McClymont in the meeting. Just check if Councillor McGeever's present. Don't have Councillor McGeever, and we have present Councillor Razak and Councillor Robb, and I'll hand back to the chair. Oh, sorry, we also have various officers in attendance and TU representatives. I'll hand back to the chair. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Can I welcome everyone to the Employees Equalities, Diversity and Inclusion Forum. Can we go on to the declarations of interest? Are there any declarations of interest? No, there's none raised. We'll go to agenda item 2 as the minutes of the previous meeting that was held on the 27th of August 25. Are there any questions? Nope.
No questions, Chair.
Okay, thank you. Can I move these minutes to be approved for as a correct record?
I'll second it.
There's no objections, Chair.
Okay, then we see this as passed, as approved. Okay, agenda item 3, success looks different at Duncanrig. Can I invite Jasmine, Graham, the Deputy Head of Duncanrig Secondary School, to deliver the presentation? Tasman.
Hello there, my name's Tamsin Graham. I'm Deputy Head at Duncanrig Secondary School. And we've been invited here to speak today about the Success Looks Different Award, which we put ourselves forward for this time last year. I've brought the actual award here along for people to have a look at, and it was around about February time that we actually were awarded this award, because we entered the secondary category for this award and won that category for 24-25. I'm just going to speak a little bit about the purpose of the award, and my pupils, Milo and Ava, who are here with me today, are going to talk as well about their experiences. So the purpose of this award is to allow schools to highlight how they celebrate the success of their pupils with additional support needs in a way that goes beyond academic performance and SQA qualifications. In Duncanrig Secondary Additional Support Needs Base, also known as the Communication Support Base, we do have some of our young people with additional support needs working at advanced higher level, higher and National 5 level. But the majority of our pupils are attaining qualifications at levels 3 and 4 and a few at levels 1 and 2 as well. But our pupils' achievements and successes go way beyond that the SQA can provide accreditation for. So we know that it's very important to all of us that we celebrate their wider successes in as many ways that we can. So for the competition, we had to make a submission which demonstrated some of the ways that we do this, and that's what we'd like to share with you today, is how the submission that we made to the competition and the actual activities that we do to celebrate the success of our pupils. So I'm going to hand over to Milo now, who's going to tell you about the role that he had in making sure that we can celebrate this success. So Milo, it's over to you.
Hi, my name is Milo. I am a National Inclusion Ambassador who is a part of a nationwide group of young people who are helping to support young people in Scotland and making sure that we have a voice in government policies. For conclusion, our successes must be celebrated. I came up with the idea to create a monthly podcast that celebrates individual successes in the communication support base in Duncanrig, where I am actually pupil. The CSB is a part of supporting education for young people with learning needs, predominantly autism. In Duncanrig Secondary, the podcast covers a variety of topics. For example, there was a pupil with dyslexia who was telling me about her challenges and how she was able to overcome them by learning barista skills. And also Ava here, who was telling us about her college experience. The podcast was highly successful through the entire community of Duncanrig and is normally played during registration periods. We received an abundance of positive feedback regarding it and people asking for more episodes. So I will continue to promote individual successes of my peers. This in relation connects to Article 12 of the UNCRC, which states that we have a right to an opinion and it should be heard and taken seriously. Thank you.
So I'm just going to tell you a bit about the next slide here, which is focusing on pupil leadership within our school. So Milo and Ava here today are in S6 in our base, and they are our S6 CSB captains. So they join in with the wider school pupil leadership to, for example, have an opinion on how the S6 prom is going to work, how the yearbook's going to be presented. So they've got a voice on wider school matters for their year group. But they also help me lead things within the base in Duncanrig. And we have other pupils in other year groups who are part of the base pupil leadership team. So you see a picture there of the whole of the pupil leadership team. Our S2 pupils last year wanted to create clubs that were more inclusive for our pupils. Our pupils are able to attend wider school clubs if they want to, but some of them just don't have the confidence yet to do that. So they're looking for other clubs within the base, and the S2 pupil leadership team led on that, and they did a really successful quiz club, finishing up with a guess the member of staff baby picture. That was a great success and had a lot of laughs with that one. We've also got our pupil Sofiane, who's on the wider school eco committee, and he comes back to the base, feeds back the work that the wider school eco committee is doing, and makes sure that we are doing all the sustainable recycling and everything in the base as well. So that's just a bit about pupil leadership. The other thing that we spoke about as part of the award was a really exciting opportunity that our PE teacher provided for the pupils. So we have our own PE teacher in the base, which we're really lucky to have. And he knows that our pupils absolutely love PE, and they actually love competitive sports, but they're not always getting into the wider school football or basketball teams. So our PE teacher contacted all the other additional support needs establishments across South Lanarkshire and invited them all to bring teams to a basketball tournament and a football tournament at different points in the year, where all of the young people could enjoy competing in a sport at their level and confidence, their ability level and their confidence level. And the pupils absolutely loved that, to be able to be part of a team, to compete at their level. They absolutely loved. Unfortunately, Duncanrig team has not won any of the tournaments yet, but it was enough for our pupils just to enjoy the opportunity to take part in a competition like that. The other thing that really we're all talking about here is wider achievement, but we try to make sure that these wider achievements that our pupils have are accredited in some way with it might be SQA qualifications, but it might also be other awards like Dynamic Youth Awards and so on. So Ava's going to speak about her experiences as part of wider achievement. So we're just going on to the next slide, sorry, because yeah, perfect, thank you. Okay.
Hi, my name is Ava. I'm a pupil at Duncanrig CSB Support Base. I am now in S6. I already have National 4 and National 5 qualifications, including a B for my drama, which I'm really proud of. But I also have able to achieve other things in the base, as well exams. When I was in S5, I did a qualification called Enterprise and Employability, where I got to make and sell Christmas, and through the whole year, we raised funds for the CSB. I was so good in this subject. I got really confident speaking to other people around the school, I ended up winning the award for the best pupil in that subject. As Milo said earlier, I also love going to college. Got to be a part of a pantomime, a fashion show. I got to make a video all about neurodiversity. It was really great fun. I also got a personal development award. This links back to Article 23. If you are disabled, you have a right to have an education and to have develop a full life.
So I'm now going to hand back to Milo and Eva. Together they want to read to you this poem that they wrote, which again, we put this poem in as part of our submission for the Success Looks Different award. And it's a poem that we've shared really quite widely already so far. And we're really proud of the words that Milo and Eva have put down on paper to express some of their experiences and other young people's experiences with neurodiversity. So I'll hand over to them now to read out the poem.
Neurodiversity, a unique way to be. Autism, dyslexia, and ADHD. Using our brains in a different way, dealing with challenges day by day, being the person we're expected to be, conforming the norms of society, masking our emotions prone to a shout. Sometimes it's best to let it all out.
People can be cruel and sometimes unkind, lacking of understanding of minds. Following the routines what we do best, social actions put us to the test. But please do remember the prize and encourage with love and support we develop and flourish.
We all share this world and we all have a part to play. I may be autistic, but I was born this way.
Thank you, Tamsin and Milo and Eva. That was an excellent presentation. Are there any questions?
Thanks very much. And thank you very much for that presentation. Certainly well done to yourself as Deputy Head, and of course to Milo and Eva. You guys have clearly done a lot of very good work on this, so you should certainly be proud of it. And thank you very much for that poem. It certainly did deserve a round of applause. So you have both done very, very well. The point I would make, not so much a question, but it is really good to see the level of pupil leadership within this, and amount of pupil involvement, increasing the awareness of the experiences of those with additional learning needs, that experience neurodiversity and disability. So that's really positive to see, and I think it's important that a lot of that does come from pupils who are likely to best learn from their peers. So that is really good to see. I don't have a specific question other to say well done and thank you.
Can I have the next speaker?
Thank you, Chair. And thank you to Milo, Eva and Duncanrig High School. What an inspiring presentation. I'm sorry I can't join you there this afternoon to meet you in person, but huge congratulations. I wanted to ask what you feel the secrets of your success are at Duncanrig and how that could be rolled out across the authority. And also picking up on the accredited learning, wider learning. The authority have made a commitment to roll out the Forestry and Outdoor Learning Award. That's an SQA qualification. And I think that can benefit more people in using the surroundings of schools for that in an outdoor environment. It's quite often helpful. So thanks again, and look forward to meeting you next time.
Thank you, Kristen.
So the lady asked about the secret of success. It's absolutely no secret. It's our young people and the fantastic achievements that they show us. So I've worked with Milo and Ava since they first came to Duncanrig in S1, and to have seen how far they have come is a huge reward. And really it's our job to just make sure that we're seeing the diamonds in every single one of our pupils and making sure that we celebrate that. We celebrate everything in all of our pupils, and we have an individualised approach to how we deliver our curriculum to our pupils, the experiences that they have with us. And that's what you would see if we had more time for Milo and Ava to explain the curriculum that they've had over the years. It has been very personalised, and they've very much achieved their full potential in all their different subject areas that they're involved in, and I think that really is the key thing.
Thank you.
Hello, Tony Slavin from Unison. It's just I'm absolutely over the moon that EDI is alive and well, and it's in such good hands coming forward. And it's just to say that the support is there, the support from South Lanarkshire Council is certainly there, and from the STUC and Scottish Unison, Scottish Union Learning. So there's all these pathways to make sure that EDI and in this age of Trump and this age of people trying to kick us down and cover, it's good to see that it's in such safe hands and such successful people with yourselves pushing it forward. It was really great, and thanks very much. It was great to listen to. Thank you.
Thank you, Tony. Margaret?
Yeah, I'd just like to say thank you very much for coming along today, and congratulations on your award. Brilliant. And congratulations to Milo and Ava. You've done really well. I've got 4 children myself with additional support needs, so I know coming along here must have been a bit daunting, and I hope it wasn't too bad for you. So thank you very much, and congratulations once again.
Thank you, Margaret. Can I say, firstly, apologies to Tamsin because I mispronounced your name. And the second thing would be that Milo Ava, he's had an excellent presentation, should be very proud of coming to this meeting and giving an excellent presentation. If possible, Tamsin, is it possible to get a copy of the podcast to the committee members so we can have a look at this and see how well they're doing in it?
Councillor Razak, you froze a bit there. I didn't catch exactly what you said.
Okay, the last part was that I was thanking Ava and Milo for the excellent presentation, and I think they did an excellent job. And what I was asking was that we get a copy of the podcast, if possible, sent out to the committee members so they can have a look at this and see the excellent work that's being done.
Hi, Councillor Razak. You'd be welcome to visit as well if anyone's interested in contacting Tamsin for a visit and meeting some of the young people, and then you'll get a sense in person of just how well the young people are supported by Tamsin and her team.
Thank you. I think we'll just we will take you up on that all kind of offer.
If you want to leave after, we have. Is that okay? Thank you once again for coming along.
I think that was an excellent presentation by Duncan Rigg, and they need to be applauded for that. Agenda item 4, Country Council-wide Workforce Monitoring Report for July to September 25. Can I invite Elaine Maxwell to speak to the report, please?
Hello, good afternoon. It's Eileen McPeak. I'm here in place of Elaine just because she's attending another meeting. I'm just presenting the Standard Council-wide Workforce Monitoring Report covering the period the 1st of July to the 30th of September. So in terms of the key points, section 4.0 outlines attendance statistics and the council-wide absence rate for September was 6.1%. That had increased from the previous month, however, compared to the same period last year, it remains unchanged. Taking all the annual absence figures into account, the projected annual average for the council for 25-26 is 6.0%. In terms of the reasons for absence, psychological and musculoskeletal conditions remain the main reasons for absence. Members will be aware that maximising attendance policy and case management is applied in terms of working in partnership with managers and personnel services and in conjunction with trade unions to ensure that all the appropriate supports are in place for employees to return to work. In terms of occupational health, it's outlined at section 5.0. The main highlights are that the number of medical referrals were 356, physio referrals were 459 over the period, referrals to the Employee Support Officer was 522, and for counselling there was 147 referrals, and CBT there was 99 referrals during the period. Section 6 outlines the accidents and incidents that were recorded during the period, and there was a total of 529 incidents that were recorded. Of them, 528 were recorded as minor incidents, and there was only one incident that resulted in an absence over 7 days. In terms of employee relations issues, that's outlined at 7.0. So there was 43 disciplinary hearings that took place during the period, and of that, 56 of the hearings were convened within 6 weeks. There was 6 grievances that were raised, 7 dignity at work complaints. There was 2 referrals to mediation. In terms of leavers and exit interviews, that's outlined in section 8. There was 156 leavers during the period, which covered the period gives a labour turnover of 1.0%, and then translating that to an annual turnover projection of 3.4%. During the period, there was 51 exit interviews that were conducted from the 156 leavers that were eligible for an exit interview. And then finally, in terms of recruitment monitoring, that's outlined in section 9. So of the 6,504 applications that were received, 6,501 of them completed equal ops forums. In terms of disabled applicants, there was 494, and of them 222 were shortlisted, and that converted into 23 that were appointed into posts. For black ethnic minority applicants, there was 811, and of them 221 were shortlisted, and then 13 were appointed. And then finally, in terms of veterans, there was 61 applicants, 28 were shortlisted, and 3 were appointed. I'm just referring the forum back to section 2 and asking that the employment information for the council covering the period the 1st of July to the 30th of September is noted, and I'm happy to take any questions. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Are there any questions? Ross?
Yep. Thank you, Chair, and thank you very much for the report. I'm looking specifically at the occupational health section. I note that in most of the categories, apart from PAM Assist, there has been an increase in referrals compared to previous year. Suppose I'm looking for more information on what's driven that. Has there been an increase in demand, or are we just encouraging that referral process, which has resulted in an increase in referrals being made? Or is it part of a not unusual fluctuation you might see over a period of years. Second question is that, well, I would like to welcome the increased amount of exit interviews being done. I know this is an issue we've raised a couple of times previously. Again, has there been anything in particular driving that increase? I know there has been, we have been trying to encourage more leavers who are eligible for those exit interviews to take part in them.
Okay, thanks for the question. Yeah, you will see it. There is a rise in terms of across all the kind of occupational health referrals. It's probably attributed to a mix of things. There has been you'll be aware here in at committee, there's been a review in terms of our arrangements around maximising attendance. So there has been an increased focus, and that translates to an increase in the number of referrals. Probably, if I could just kind of maybe give an example in terms of, you'll see quite an increase in terms of referrals for cognitive behavioural therapy. So that's been a change in terms of the arrangements, in terms of how people, when they're initially referred to the service, are then triaged. So rather than going down the counselling route, they're then going on to CBT. So you'll see that one offsets the other. So you will see a fluctuation, but I think in general it would be attributed to, as I say, the kind of more increased focus. There's an increased support in terms of from personnel. There's an increased awareness in terms of managers. And just in general, that will then translate to an increased number in terms of referrals across all the supports that we have available to our employees. In terms of exit interviews, I would love to sit here and say there was a magic bullet that we had cracked it in terms of getting an increase in terms of our exit interviews, but it probably is as a result of several months of concerted effort. You'll have heard me talking at other committees in relation to the different ways that we try and get to encourage people to complete exit interviews. It often is quite challenging, particularly when employees are already disengaged because they've already indicated that they're leaving the organisation. So we'll welcome any upturn that we see, and we will make every effort to make sure that that's maintained. Thanks.
Thank you. Okay. Yes, I was looking at the figures myself. I think the exit interviews are really it's very positive, and I was looking at the accidents and incidents, and I know that you had explained the accidents and incidents that you are using a new process, and if you can explain that to the committee, that would be great.
Yeah, I'm happy to provide an explanation in terms of the variance. So when you compare the number of accidents and incidents recorded to the same period last year, it looks like there's quite an increase, but actually in reality we're not comparing like with like. Members might remember that this time last year we were just on the back of implementing a new HR system, Oracle Fusion, and there was a difference in terms of how we were recording accidents and incidents at that time, and the transition to that period meant that there was a delay in some of the accidents and incidents that were recorded, and for that reporting period last year we did see a reduction, and then it was then translated and caught up at a later date. So we're not comparing the same level of recording for the period this time last year as we are this time for the period this year. So that accounts for the difference in the figures. I hope that helps you understand.
Thank you, Elaine. That was excellent. And the second one was about the recruitment monitoring, but I think I've raised the concerns already, so we'll leave it at that one. If there's no further questions, okay. Does the forum to note the report? Okay. Agenda item 5. Thank you. Agenda item 5, Education Resources Workforce Monitoring Report for July to September 25. Can I invite that take it? It'll be Aileen McPeak again to speak to this.
That's correct, it's me. So on a similar vein then, this is the Education Resources Workforce Monitoring Report covering the same period. It's the 1st of July to the 30th of September 2025. So in terms of section 4, that outlines the attendance statistics, And specific to education resources, the resource absence figure for September was 4.8%, so an increase compared to the previous month, but the resource absence figure is 1.3% lower than the council-wide figure. And compared to the same period last year, we can see a decrease. And all of that translates to an annual projected annual average figure for the resource for 25-26 of 5.1% compared to the council-wide average figure of 6%. Section 4.2 to 4.5 outlines some sort of key workforce monitoring items, and in summary, in terms of occupational health referrals for the resource for the period, there was 403 referrals, and that's for all of the occupational health activity. In terms of accidents and incidents, there was 434 recorded during the period, and for employee relations, there was one disciplinary hearing, there was no grievances raised, and there was one dignity at work issue that was raised within the period. And in terms of leavers for the resource, there was 766 leavers that were eligible for an exit interview, and of them 26 completed an exit interview during the period. The details in terms of the workforce monitoring information and attendance statistics are in the appendices to the report, and I'm just referring you back to section 2 and asking that the workforce monitoring information for education resources covering the period the 1st of July to the 30th of September 2025 is noted. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Are there any questions? No. Okay, on page, oh, Catherine, apologies.
Thanks, Chair. It wasn't well, it's just an observation, Eileen, about the absence figure. 2% on a 4.8 is quite significant. Was there any reason behind that?
It's just the time of the year, because that's for September. So when you're looking at August, teachers were off for some of that period. So the absence rate tends to go up when we've got more people that are there reporting absences.
Okay, I was going to say on page 29, it's a bit of a mixed bag because medical examinations has gone down, employee counselling services has gone down, physio's been the same, but the referrals to employee support officers has gone up quite substantially from 115 to 180, and referrals to cognitive behaviour therapy has gone up to 17 from 0, and the other side is the disciplinary hearings gone down from 6 to 1. So it's a mixed bag, but overall quite positive. Thank you very much. Sorry, Eileen, on you go.
That statement that is a bit of a mixed bag, you know, sometimes the variances are down to the time of the year, like what I've just explained to Councillor McClimont. You know, if you're comparing you know, a winter month with a summer month. I talked earlier about the kind of counselling referrals and how there's a revised triage system. So that kind of, therefore that accounts for the kind of increase in CBT referrals. I don't have an explanation in terms of the disciplinary hearings. You know, it's quite small numbers that we're talking about for a big resource, actually. You know, we're still in single figures if you think of the size of the resource. So you will see fluctuations around that. And as I say, well, I don't have explanations for every single one. You know, we do continue to look at these statistics. We'll look to identify trends and we'll take action where required.
Thank you, Eileen. These figures are for July 24 and July 25, so they're roughly the same period for both reports. So I would say that you're right. For the number of staff that are there, they're still very, very positive. You know, and it shows you a lot of good work being done. So well done. Okay. Agenda item 6. Oh, sorry. This forum to note the report.
I'll second it. Thank
you. Okay. Agenda item 6. Annual report on mainstream equalities and diversity, education resources. Can I invite Karen Riley to speak to the report?
Hi there. Yeah, so we have our report, which is maybe a bit different from the other resources because we focus on a lot of the equalities work that's been done in schools as part of the curriculum or some of the other activities within school. So our contribution to the plan from 25 to 29 is to ensure that we fully embedded the UNCRC in all our actions. As you know, that's been enshrined in law, the UNCRC and the Incorporation Scotland Bill 2024. So there's now a duty on local authorities to respect and protect children's rights in all that we do. And obviously for education, that's our core business. So I've picked out some of the highlights of the work within the report. We, at schools for a number of years now, have worked through a rights respecting toolkit where they could receive an award, making sure that children were informed about their rights, and a lot of that's round about pupil voice and pupil leadership opportunities, and I think Tamsin and her pupils displayed that really well, but we've got a lot of good work going on at primary. That's a national award, and sometimes there are difficulties in getting assessors out to schools quickly, so we've developed our own school, and Moshnook Primary became the first school to achieve accreditation for that within South Lanarkshire, and that's about involving all learners kind of in school improvement through pupil leadership groups, steering groups, communities groups, charities groups. There's lots and lots of opportunities out there, and it also involves pupils looking at areas of the school, playground and other areas that they can be involved in improving and making sure the staff take account of the pupils' views. We also have some training which has been developed by young people in the UNCRC for staff to complete, and we're working hard to make sure that young people are included in more of our events that are put on. So our psychological services team delivered a very successful event in June in the banqueting hall, Hear My Voice, and that involved over 30 primary schools coming to talk about the attachment strategy and a lot of work round about positive management of behaviour and emotions that's taken place in schools. So we had lots of schools, young people up presenting on the stage and or displaying their work round the side. And we're going to do another one of those this year. We have the other conference, which is Wellbeing Warriors, which is sharing good practice in schools to support emotional wellbeing. So our psychological services team take the lead on that, and they have lots of different resources and programmes for pupils out there to try and assist with some of the mental health problems that young people might be experiencing. Our school counselling service still offers vital support to young people across South Lanarkshire, with over 1,700 young people being supported, and they are now looking at the data collection to make sure that at-risk groups are being monitored. So young people, LGBT young people, minority ethnic young people, deaf community, young carers, etc., to make sure that that's equitable in terms of accessing the services. In terms of the central team, we've updated our equality, equity and inclusion framework for schools, which is just make sure there are practice guides for the legislation that they need to follow, and includes a section on the Equality Act. And then we have really focused our work on equalities in the 6 areas that you see there. And that is coming from some work Education Scotland did, where they highlighted these are the areas where inequality can cause the greatest impact on wellbeing. So with LGBT discrimination, gender-based violence, racism, poverty, disability discrimination, and care experience discrimination. So I'll just give a wee update on each of those areas. So our anti-racism work, I think it was 2 years ago, we had pupils from Straven High and primaries who turned up. They'd been doing a transition project. So that work's continuing. One of the learning communities within Hamilton, attached to Hamilton Grammar, 5 primary schools collaborated together on an anti-racist project involving pupils of all ages, but the primary 7 pupils were able to present that at a big event. All pupils gathered together at Woodside Primary School, and Hamilton Grammar staff attended that to make sure they could continue it in the secondary. We have published an anti-racist and decolonised curriculum framework to support schools in to be preventative. So I'll talk a wee bit about anti-bullying work later on, but just to encourage schools to be preventative in tackling racism, and there's been some additional learning offered in that. We've had an equalities network run by one of the development officers, making sure that staff had some training round about that area as well. Poverty continues to be a big focus for the local authority. The poverty-related attainment gap, obviously within education, is a major driver from the Scottish Government, and they provide some funding through the Strategic Equity Fund for that. And you can see that that is targeted towards attainment data and improving the positive destinations. And in that, South Lanarkshire rate for positive destinations is 96.4%, so we're above the national average. We focus our efforts, there's additional support for young people living in learners who are in SIMD Quintile 1 and SIMD Quintile 5. There's targets set for that we try and monitor very rigorously. We spoke last year about the cost of the school day guidance. So in 2024, there was a big conference launching a cost of the school day policy, and that is asking schools to take account of the cost of schooling or financial barriers that may impact on young people attending and engaging with school. So we've got some very innovative practice around about there that's been recognised nationally by the Child Poverty Action Group. We've got, for example, St John Ogilvie High School has a discrete online portal that parents can access. There are different sections, but they can request support with items such as prom outfits, winter jackets, toiletries, school bags. They can supply winter clothing packs, and they also continue to subsidise the cost of all school trips so that there's no barriers and that all pupils can participate. What's particularly good about their initiative is that they have ambassadors who promote these across the school, awareness campaigns and support events to reduce stigma and try and encourage people to take up the support that's on offer. Neilsland Primary as well are doing fantastic work in this area, and they've been recognised by Education Scotland for the work they're doing to support families. They've got a free breakfast club, they've got uniform and clothing banks, free after school clubs, and they've got an ICT lending library and free stationery for pupils as well. So just trying to remove any barriers that might stop pupils attending. In terms of care experience young people, we have a team of teachers who are working closely with care experience young people, and they're overseen by one of the inclusion officers who acts as a kind of virtual head teacher, and those teachers are having a big impact in ensuring that the attainment of care experience young people is being really focused upon. In terms of LGBT education, we now have an e-learning module which is mandatory for all teachers delivering LGBT inclusive education, and almost 1,200 teachers have completed the training so far, and we've over 143 schools registered on the platform. Our psychological services are completing their Charter Award this year so that they can better support that group of young people. And we had Time for Inclusive Education launching a new resource at Cathkin High School called Digital Discourses, and that's really about some of the online prejudice and maybe kind of radical attitudes that young people might encounter. It's just informing teachers about that, and what's great about it is it gives teachers a script in how to challenge disrespectful pupils using disrespectful language towards their peers, and that's been taken forward at Cathkin High. And there's a little bit in the report about their anti-discrimination work, how they've built that into the English department, so they use different texts for different years to tackle projects within there. Gender-based violence is a big focus for us this year. It's part of the National Action and Behaviour Plan. So we have MVP, our Mentors in Violence Prevention programme, up and running in almost every secondary school now, and we train staff on a yearly basis. So that involves training some teachers, and then they go back and train 5th or 6th year pupils, and those pupils are mentors, and they deliver sessions to usually 2nd and 3rd year as part of the PSE programme, and it's really about a peer education programme, encouraging peers to stand up and to tackle unacceptable behaviour that they see within their peer group and within the school. We attended an event in Paisley in June. We took a large contingent of 27 young people from 8 schools who were funded by the Violence Against Women and Girls Partnership, and that was to an assembly, a youth assembly, Action for Change in Paisley Town Hall with MVP mentors from all over Scotland. on the 18th of November, so just under 2 weeks, we have organised a conference in line with the Violence Against Women and Girls Partnership on Gender-Based Violence, and we've got some excellent keynote speakers, Laura Bates and Michael Conroy, who are very well respected within that field. And again, we'll have some of our young people presenting at that in the afternoon. And the aim of that is what we've noticed in terms of monitoring our prejudice-based bullying is that there are very few incidents recorded under as being motivated by prejudice against gender or by sexism. And there's some national information that suggests that teachers, so the Behaviour in Scottish Schools research identified that 18% of staff were witnessing kind of peer behaviour, misogynistic or sexist behaviour on a weekly basis. So our figures are a bit low and we're not quite sure why it's not reported. I don't know if it's girls are not reporting it, or we don't know if staff are maybe not confident about spotting that type of behaviour. So we're hoping that's the aim of the conference, is to really raise awareness of gender-based violence and misogynistic behaviour in schools, and that we can get a better idea of how often it happens, so we can then put programmes in place. In terms of young people with disability and additional support needs, obviously Tamsin was here, and I need to mention our early learning unit as well, because out of the Success Looks Different awards, the 4 categories, South Lanarkshire won 2 of them. So Duncanrig were successful at the secondary category, and the early learning unit, which is one of our ASN early years establishments, won the early years award as well. So it's great to see the practice being nationally recognised. Just another special mention to Duncanrig, they are our first school to have an assistance dog. So last year we had an S6 pupil with a diagnosis of autism and anxiety who had missed a lot of school over the previous 2 years, and her family had purchased an assistance dog. There are certain organisations in the country who train these dogs to the same standard as a guide dog. So we had some concerns. We were a wee bit wary about that to start with, but the dog, Storm, came in and accompanied the young person and helped them get back to school, and that young person's now going to college. So that was a first, and that really was down to the school community of Duncanrig and just their inclusive practice from the head teacher and Tamsin as well, and they just took that in their stride. We're, again, adapting our training offer so that we're delivering training developed by the National Autism Implementation Team. We're rolling that out to all primary schools this year, and we've further plans to embed the Circle framework, which is about making all classrooms inclusive. So as the needs of our learners change and maybe become more complex, then we are making sure that our support to schools and our training packages to schools is developing along with that. Included some information about digital technology, because that's obviously a big part of removing any barriers to young people within the class. So we have a technology that's available in all schools, a read and write literacy toolbar, which just makes things much easier for pupils. They can use that and it really helps with the classwork. And we're expanding our AAC, or assistive and augmentative communication approach, so that schools are looking at just assistive technology, so it can be low-tech in terms of symbols and pictures for pupils, or some pupils have some more different devices. We work with speech and language to help them communicate. So our schools, our ASN schools, are very good at identifying communication barriers and putting in place technology to overcome them. So our next steps are really to build our accessibility strategy is due to be launched. So that's a 3-year strategy where we have to look at the physical environment of the schools and make sure that we're improving that, we're removing any physical barriers, but also we need to audit the extent to which disabled pupils can participate within the curriculum and making sure that we are removing any barriers of communication. So some of our additional support needs schools have a number of children who are pre-verbal and may not go on to develop verbal communication, but they're very skilled at identifying the correct method of communication and making sure that those young people can take part, they can give their opinion, even if that's using something as simple as a switch which allows you to say yes or no to answers. So we're taking that forward. We'll also be continuing to develop our training. We have an ASN data improvement project underway, and that's really looking at the data that we have on children with additional support needs and trying to make sure it's as robust and as accurate as possible, so that we can then, we know the issues or the additional support needs that are out there, so we can adapt our support and training. And we'll be launching our anti-bullying strategy. Treat Me Well will be relaunched in and updated, and that should be around about January time, and that again has a big section or enhanced section on prejudice-based bullying. So we'll be taking that forward as well.
Thank you, Karen. Any questions, Ross?
Thank you, Chair, and thank you very much for that detailed report. There's a lot of useful information and certainly a lot of good work that's going on across multiple areas. So I don't have time to mention each one, but for example, pupil rights, there's certainly a lot of good work going on in that area. And it's similar to what I spoke about earlier, having as much pupil involvement, pupil-led initiatives as you can, in conjunction with what the schools themselves and the staff are doing. I think that's really important, and that's really good to see. And well done to the schools who have been, at the forefront of this. You mentioned Mossnuke, and in other areas you've got Duncanrig, so there's and lots of other ones which are kind of almost paving the way in this area. But there's lots of schools doing great stuff. You've also got LGBT inclusive education. We'd very much like to welcome that part of the report, something which we've spoken about in council and pushed for in council more, so to welcome that. We understand that we will be looking to see where we can go further in this, because I do know it was one of the schools had reported an increase in that kind of type of language, and it's still an issue facing people. So, but to welcome what has gone on. The other point is around, I know there is work that has gone on to do with engaging with Gypsy Traveller, children, young people in the education system. There's not so much detail in this report, but I suppose it would be good going forward to get some maybe more detail or more updates around our work there. I know there's been good stuff that's gone on in Larkhall in the past, especially kind of on site. And my last point, which I suppose is something which isn't a new challenge, it's more so becoming increasingly challenging. I don't expect officers to comment on any political matters, but there certainly has been a change in the discourse around asylum seekers, refugees and immigrants, in that the discourse has been quite ugly in the public domain at the times. There's been an increase in the use of inflammatory or oftentimes racist or xenophobic language, and the worry is that some of that filters into schools. So I think it's more of a comment that it's something to be mindful of. I don't expect officers to directly answer that, but
thank you for your comments. Sorry, I just wanted to say Gypsy Traveller. So we do have still the resource in Larkhall, which has a principal teacher attached to it, where young people can attend. But I'll take note to collect information about the figures. I'm not sure how many young people are using that service just now, so I'll just take a note to maybe make sure that that's presented on at the next time with that committee. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Karen. And Kirsten?
Thanks for the detailed report as well, Karen. Happy to chat more as well another time. So I've got a few questions, but we can have a discussion too. I wanted to focus a wee bit on section 9 on the ASN needs provision as well. Obviously, need is rising, which you've acknowledged yourselves, and just to see how authority-wide we can roll out more of that individualised approach, which Duncanrig said were the secret for their success. A couple examples could be in 9.5 and 9.8, you talk about the SD training being provided to primary schools, and then roll out to probationers as well in 9.8. But could we make ASN and distressed behaviour training mandatory, for example, or how could we roll that out to secondary schools as well, just as a wee first question, then I'll come in with another couple, if that's okay.
So we have a framework called Promoting Positive Relationships and Understanding Distressed Behaviour, so PPRUDB. So that is our mandatory training, our kind of mandatory framework for schools to use. That's currently been updated at the moment because we've got the National Behaviour and Action Plan from the Scottish Government, which is their response, obviously, to the concerns about some of the more challenging behaviour maybe that schools are facing. So we do have some mandatory training. We have a presentation that head teachers can deliver on the August in-service day, and we'll be updating that in line with the new national guidance. We do have a suite of other training. So the National Autism Implementation Team, the NATE training for primary, they are producing training for secondaries, which we're expecting to come out kind of June 2026. We do have our own de-escalation training, which we can offer to schools as well. Our psychological services are trained in emotion coaching. So that is a form of de-escalation training. It's recognising just the very early stages of a child being upset or there's some kind of emotional disturbance. And so they've trained over 2,000 teachers in that across both our primary and secondary. We also have an attachment strategy, which is about kind of understanding children's needs and how to respond. And we've got an accreditation award system as part of that. So some of our secondaries are undertaking that as well. But we do have some very challenging situations out there, so we're always looking to increase our training and improve it and make sure that we are responding to the needs that are in our schools.
Thank you. Could I ask a couple of other things, please? So just following up on those things, thanks very much, Karen, that's good to hear. Thinking about adapting the curriculum, or, you know, for people with additional needs, maybe what adjustments could be made, like class sizes, maybe the volume and pace of the curriculum, looking at more Pathfinders, MCR type work that might work for some young people. The process of how the school referrals, how they can get the sometimes lengthy process it can take to get the school referrals. And then if people are refusing online access, making sure that's more consistent as well. I know there's quite a lot in there, so happy to sit down with you another time and chat through it. But yeah, if there's anything else you can add to how schools are adapting to more additional needs, that would be useful. Thank you.
Yep, so as well, I suppose, as the support and training, we do have a focus on the curriculum. Obviously, we have a new director who started with us in August. So there is a plan to have a pedagogy team. So this will be a team of 10 teachers who will focus on inclusive practices and who will be able to support their colleagues in school. So the plan is that they will operate as a kind of teacher in residence mode, where 2 teachers may be based in a school, coaching, modelling and team teaching with the staff, just to make sure that we're adapting our pedagogy. We're making sure that's as inclusive as possible. There's also a plan to increase the Pathfinder resource. So Pathfinder is a youth worker, I guess, attached to our youth, family and community learning team, but they have a particular focus on children that are disengaged from the curriculum or find it difficult to attend. So there's a plan to have one of those members in every school to again help with the attendance and children that are disengaged. But some of our secondary schools are doing fantastic work in terms of trying to re-engage some of our young people. So the schools in East Kilbride work together and they use the local Universal Connections resource, and they staff that 2 or 3 times a week so that children who find it very difficult to enter the school building for whatever reason are able to go there and still to receive qualifications. We have schools who have, most of them, if you go pick the right morning of the week, you'll be served a lovely cup of coffee. So they have barista machines and barista training courses. So they're looking at diversifying their qualifications away from the standard SQA to award qualifications. So we do, I was in our school for children with social emotional behavioural needs, Care Campus, and one of the principal teachers had just came back from the overnight camp in Duke of Edinburgh award. So we have these programmes running, and schools are always, look, we've got beekeeping in one of our schools. I think that's out in Les Mexico. So schools are trying to be really innovative and creative and work through, look for different things in the curriculum that will engage our young people.
Thank you. And it was just to follow up that the council have made a commitment to roll out the Forestry and Outdoor Learning Award, linking into, you know, a wider diverse range of qualifications. So it's just to see if you knew when that was going to happen.
Sorry, I don't know an exact date for that. I can find out, but we have a lot of good work going on just now. We have some of our specialist support teachers who are trained in forest schools, and they run that within a locality basis. So they might run it on a Friday afternoon in East Kilbride, and children from a variety of primary schools can attend. And that takes place in most of the localities. And we also have a lot of schools are working with an organisation called OPAL, which is about outdoor learning and play. And they're using some of their PEF funding to redevelop the playgrounds and make sure that playgrounds are not just bare with nothing in them, and the children are involved a lot in that, and kind of looking at the equipment and how they could be designed. And we do have people working on the John Muir Award and the kind of outdoor education award. So we've got quite good practice just now, but I'll take a note, Kirsten, to find out when the Forestry and Outdoor Learning Award, when it will be formally rolled out.
Okay, thanks for all that, Mo. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else more speakers? No. Before we quickly go on to the 5-minute break, can I say that, can you keep us updated, please, Karen, for the Treat Me Well? And it has been noted that 1 in 5 of our learners live in SIMD1, SIMD2, which is quite alarming, and also 21.5 are entitled to preschool meals. That's 1 in 5 as well, which is quite worrying as well. So, can we note this report?
Agreed.
Okay, and we will take a 5-minute break, and we'll come back and do agenda item 7, which is the second last one, forward program for future meetings with Ali Floyd. So we'll take a 5-minute break. Thank you, and we will start again. It's agenda item 7. After forward programme for future meetings, can I ask Ali Floyd to speak for this item?
Thank you very much, Chair, and a very good afternoon to everyone in the meeting. This is our response to an action from our last meeting that we were going to set up a survey to collect ideas for what we would cover in this forum moving forward. Thank you to those who've responded so far. We are planning to put a more formal paper together for the next meeting of this forum. But I just wanted to take the opportunity to update you on what we've had back so far. So thank you to the 5 responders that we've had so far. The issues that have come out on top thus far, minority ethnic recruitment has come up as an issue to discuss at this forum. The Supreme Court decision and single-sex spaces has come up, something we should talk about. Gender balance came up as one of the suggested topics, which I think is quite an interesting one. 74.3% of our workforce are female, but we know that that's very much in pockets around the council. There was also quite an interesting comment on the staff networks and whether they should function just for the people with protected characteristics or they should be open to allies as well. Quite an interesting conversation for us to have. In terms of the protected characteristics, sex actually came out as a topic of interest to everyone. Age, disability and race came out in 3 of the comments. Gender reassignment, marriage and civil partnership, religion, belief, sexual orientation came out 2. Pregnancy and maternity came out in 1. So again, I think interesting to see that all the protected characteristics are of interest to people. So it would be ideal if members could continue completing the survey, give us more data. The more you tell us, the more we can do. Ideally by the end of November, so that we can have papers and data ready for the next meeting in plenty of time. But the survey will remain open, so we'll keep monitoring and checking in on that. Very happy to take further questions, further comment from anyone about it, and I will hand back over. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Ali. Are there any questions? Margaret?
I really enjoyed the Duncanrig presentation. Could we maybe get a wee bit more of them, or, you know, even to do with the work that has been done in our schools?
Thank you very much. Yes, I think presentations of what's going on feels like a great theme and topic for us, so I will add that to the list. Thank you.
I would, thank you, Margaret. I would ask all the committee members to put forward anything of concern that they want to talk about. They have their chance now to put their thoughts in, and I think that way we can work on everything that's of concern as well. And thank you, Ali, and for the work you're doing. And since there's no questions, we'll go on to agenda item 8, urgent business. There's no urgent business. So I'd like to thank everyone for attending this meeting. And I'd like to apologise for being online because I'm in Turkey just now. So it's about 28, 29 degrees here, so I'm sweating. So I hope Scotland's nice and warm as well. I'd like to close this meeting.